Okay, this video is going to serve as just a review of the different ribbons that are available in Word. Since version 2007, Word moved from the toolbars at the top to ribbons, and the idea is these ribbons will change depending on what feature you're working on. So it's a little bit different philosophy. So just reviewing where you can find different ribbons and what I want you to know at this point from each ribbon. Starting with the far left. The file ribbon is a little different in that it doesn't actually pull up a ribbon, but the whole screen changes. So this one's the one that's different. But it handles saving, opening, closing, new documents, printing, Word options. We're going to come back to some of the options you can change under Word later in the year. But for now, just know that it's mainly document management, saving, printing, opening, etc. Next, we have the Home ribbon, which represents the most commonly used features of Microsoft Word. If you're not sure where something is at, it probably is under the Home ribbon. It handles things like copying and pasting. As you can see here, we can get to more details there. Font options, the size, the color, the type of the font, bold, italic, many options here. One thing you'll see frequently that we'll use are these little option dialog boxes. When you click on that, it pulls up another menu that has a lot more options than what you saw on the ribbon. So anytime I say the font options, the font box, that's representing that little arrow right there. So just be very familiar with this little down, kind of a down arrow right there. Paragraph options, double space, alignment, centering of text, bullets, outlines, sorting, all that is covered right there. Next section is styles. We're going to talk about styles at great length very shortly, but it lists the styles that you can use. And finally, finding and replacing, searching for text in your document and replacing with other texts. Just a few of the things found under the Home ribbon. Next, we have the Insert, which basically covers adding new objects or items to your document. Tables, pictures, shapes, clip arts, smart art, charts, diagrams. We'll talk about all of that at great length. Headers and footers, page numbers. A very common feature is text boxes. We're going to use that a lot. Word art. Some people love word art because you can have different shapes of letters. And two that are not often used, but times, equations. Sometimes you just need a simple equation with a radical sign or a fraction. That's done under equation. And then symbols. Anytime you need to have some sort of international character, some different object, different shapes you can find under here, different languages. We'll talk about that as well. So that's Insert, adding new objects to the page. Page layout, the most common feature that I want you to know here, changing your margins. They have presets for 1 inch, half an inch under narrow, different options for margins. You can do custom margin as well, so you can type in your own numbers. Turning the paper left taller or wider is called portrait or landscape. The size, most of the time we'll be using letter. We will be using legal on several documents this year, and of course there is more paper sizes where you can type in your own sizes. Changing the number of columns on a page is under page layout. Page breaks are all under here. We'll talk about that as well. References basically involves citations for things like research papers. So anything involving a research paper citation, we'll be using references. So not as commonly used feature. Table of contents and footnotes are probably the most common feature in citations, those three things. Mailings we'll be using for three features on this ribbon: creating envelopes for mailing, labels, and then mail merge, which we'll learn how to, or what the purpose of a mail merge is. Review mainly involves checking your document for errors, mainly spelling errors, grammatical errors, the number of words are on a page, and then creating comments. We're going to learn about this a little bit towards the end of the year. Comments and track changes, we'll talk about that. But mainly the checking for mistakes, errors, grammar errors, and so forth. View, most common feature here is the zoom options. I do want you to know about zooming to 100%, 1 page, 2 page, and even having 4 pages at a time using the zoom option here. So that's the most common one there. Macros we'll come back to in just a few weeks. But macros is a very, very powerful feature that's located in the View ribbon as well. So just to review, file management, mostly under the File, New, Open, Save. Most common features are found under Home. Inserting, adding new objects onto your page, changing the physical design of your page, the size, the orientation, the margins, the columns, research papers, mailing features, changing, looking for mistakes, and then changing the way you see your document. This never changes the way things print, or it just changes the way you see your document. So just a very quick review of the ribbons that are found in Word 2010. If you ever, there's a little arrow right here in the far right hand side that some people click by mistake, minimizes the ribbon. So if you see just this, you can click on it, it'll open it up, but once you go back to work, your ribbons are gone. Most people prefer to have them all the time, but that's a personal preference. It's this little arrow right there, but that's ribbons. There are a few, let me mention very briefly, there are a few ribbons that are not visible at this point because there's no content that relates to them. For example, if I create a table, while editing the table, I have two new ribbons that pop up, Design and Layout, that involve working with tables. If I'm inserting a picture, for example, let's insert a picture of a barn here, I get a picture ribbon involving changing the picture, the items of the picture, the shapes, the borders, the colors, so forth. So there's several ribbons, and we'll get to more. There's mail merge ribbons, or several other ribbons that appear only when you are using that particular feature. So we'll talk about that too. The idea behind ribbons is that they change depending on what you're working on. So when I click the picture, I have the ribbon. When I'm not working on the picture, I don't have that ribbon at the top of the screen. I've created here a document here that I do want you to review, maybe put in your notes. These are going to be the main features that I've written down for each ribbon. If you want to pause the video so you can write these down. Basically the way I'll be asking you to identify these is not to name the feature, but to name the ribbon. So if I say, what ribbon is the margin or change a margin feature found, you would say page layout. What ribbon would you go to add a symbol to your document? The insert. What ribbon would you go to add a mail merge, mailings, and so forth. So be able to identify the ribbon that a particular feature. I've not listed every feature in Word 2010. Obviously, there's only maybe 24 here, but these are the most common ones we'll be using over and over throughout the year. So I want you to know exactly where to go to get to these particular ribbons for these particular features.